Sorry?
No, I only just saw the link to it, the cut habits in the
All right, let's start with the Heart Sutra.
I prostrate to the Arya
Triple gem, thusly here at one time, the Bhagavan was absolved. Together with a great community of monks and a great community of Bodhisattvas, the Bhagavan was absolved in concentration, called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara. And those five iron gates also then through the power of the Buddha development.
How should an example of lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra, and his son of the little daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly, beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness.
In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition, factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra likewise often emptiness without characteristic, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not efficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra likewise emptiness. No discrimination, no composition of factors, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, no phenomenon. Eye, element, and soul, not to including no mind, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no to including no aging and death, no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no knowledge. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on the dwelling perfection of wisdom. The mind without obscuration and without fear, having completely passed beyond error, each the end point of Nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifest completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of the greater knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Om Gati Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva should train in profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan was in God concentration and commended the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shravariputra, the Buddha Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the worlds of Buddhas, humans, Asuras, and Gandharva, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Till I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. My relations that I relate by listening to the teachings may attend this state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. Congratulations that like listening to the teachings enlightened instead of Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, the highest assembly. The accumulations that I collect by others. Enlightened instead of Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. All right. So I'm just going to fix the camera for a second. So broke it, but I managed to make it work somehow. All right. Good afternoon. Good hot afternoon. So we've finished with the patience chapter. At least in Geshe sessions, we finished with the patience chapter. And it has been, I think, about 6 months since we started the study of Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. So did we start on May? Yeah. Yeah, so 6 months, isn't it? So
It was week of 26. It was before we were ordained, and we've been ordained just over 6 months now. Week 26.
Congratulations. So is time flying, or is it kind of going snail pace?
The first 3 months kind of went slowly, and then the next 3 months just went shoo.
All right. I remember that when I became ordained, I was kind of quite panicked the first few months, and I thought that every day, at some point it's like AA, every day at a time. Then time goes quickly. Anyway, so, but it has been more than 6 months since we started to study this topic.
26 weeks.
26 weeks, that's good. So we've covered a lot of material, and sometimes it's good to think back of how we started and where we are at the moment, and just to reflect upon how much knowledge have we gained so far, how much unclarity we were able to remove from our mind, and are we using this material in order to influence not only a practice like a meditation practice, but also our day-to-day interactions with each other. So it's good to do it. Sometimes when I look at my everyday life, I try to use this material to inform my mind to deal with situations better, and then it gives me, and I guess I can also give others, quite a lot of encouragement in terms of this system works. So it's good to do it. That's one thing that I wanted to say. Another thing that I wanted to say is that since we're studying so many things and we're speaking about so many things, it's good to try to still review the things that we've said before. There is a famous story that was told quite a few times in the past about this Tibetan, this bear that lives in the plains of Tibet. And it hunts, how is it called? Not mermaids, mammoths.
Marmots.
Yeah, not mermaids, but mammoths. Not marmalades, but mammoths. So it sits it sits next to the entry hole to the burrow of the mammoth. As soon as the mammoth comes out of the burrow of the hole, it catches it, and then it puts it out under his bum and kind of sit and wait for the next one to come in line. When the next one comes out, then it lifts his bum, gets it, and then the other one escapes. So we don't want to be like that. We don't want to let all the mammoths escape. We want to retain all of it, and that requires repetition. So it's good to do it when you have the time. That's in general. Now, what I wanted to do today is to just briefly go over the benefits of patience that we didn't get to speak of in the previous session last week. I also wanted to do just a short reading from the end of the patience chapter from Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chemo, in which Lama Tsongkhapa gives an explanation of how to put patience into practice, how to approach the practice of patience. So I thought that it's a good advice for practice. And then we'll go into the Bodhisattva chapter. So let's begin with the benefits of Bodhisattva. So first off, let's look. Let's look at the benefits of cultivating patience. So there is a brief presentation in Shantideva's text in verse 127, and then explain the benefits by means of an analogy, and then a condensed presentation of the types of benefits. So explains a lot of benefits to the practice of patience. Often when you engage with a certain practice, the common presentation is, what are the benefits that this practice will give me, and what are the drawbacks if I'm not going to do it? So often, like for example, when you look at Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chemo, it begins almost every initial topic, at least at the beginning of the steps of the path. It says that, for example, this is relying upon a spiritual teacher. These are the benefits of relying upon spiritual teachers. These are the shortcomings if you're not going to do it. Then reflecting upon death and impermanence. These are the benefits of reflecting upon death and impermanence. This is the benefits of not being mindful of death and, these are the drawbacks of not being mindful of death and impermanence. So all across the patience chapter, we spoke about a lot of disadvantages to being impatient. Then at the end, Shantideva explains the benefits of being patient. So let's look briefly at the text. It says in verse 27, it delights the Tathagatas. That's the first benefit. Second benefit, it perfectly accomplishes my own purpose as well. The third benefit, it dispels the suffering of the world. That's the brief presentation of the benefits of patience. So first of all, it speaks about three, right? It's making Buddhas happy. I should have shared it with everyone, just a second. So it says that it delights the Tathagatas, it makes the Buddha happy. It perfectly accomplishes my purpose as well. And it also dispels the suffering of the world. How is patience dispelling the suffering of the world, by the way? How is patience? How does patience dispel the suffering of the world? Less anger. So if there is less anger, there is less suffering in the world. Well, there's definitely less suffering for me, and I inflict less harm on others, so there's less suffering in the world. And you can say that also, I do not create negative actions that result in my own future suffering in future states of existence, so there is less suffering in the world also from that perspective. Also, my environment becomes more peaceful, in harmony, and so forth, so there's less suffering in the world. So that's to begin with. Then he says, he gives this complicated analogy saying, for example, should even some of the king's men cause harm to many people, far-sighted men would not retaliate even if they were able to. But they are not alone. The might of the king is their might. Likewise, I should not underestimate weak harmers. So it continues in saying, for the guardians of hell and the compassionate ones are their army. Just as the subjects behave towards a fierce king, I should please sentient beings. So here, the analogy, the summary of the analogy is saying that sentient beings are like this fierce king. The army of the fierce king are the compassionate ones, the Buddhas, and the guardians of hell. It's quite a weird analogy, isn't it? So we want to please sentient beings. So we know that the Buddhas, and also you can say the guardians of health, are like those ministers of a king. They have the power of the king. The king here is sentient being. We don't want to upset the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We don't want to upset the guardians of the hell. They're, you can say, the messengers and the ministers of the king. That's one way of looking at the analogy. There's another way of looking at the analogy, which is like the king, you could say, is the Buddha. The guardians of health and so forth are the Buddha's ministers. So you don't get at the ministers, you don't get at the guardians of hell, because you don't want to upset the king. You know that they are kind of the fierce ministers of the king. So there are different ways of looking at this analogy. Altogether, when you think of what is the benefit that Shantideva is highlighting here, it says, even if such a king were to become angry, could he cause the harm of hell, which is what I would have to experience by displeasing sentient beings? So if you think of sentient beings becoming angry with you, if you take the king to be sentient beings, then by harming the king, displeasing the king, you'll be punished. Here Shantideva says that even more so, the punishment I wouldn't say the punishment, the result of harming sentient beings will not be just getting some punishment in this life. It will continue over to future lifetimes in which you will continue to experience greater suffering than that. So the benefits of being patient, in short, if we cut to the chase, you avoid that. You avoid great sufferings in the future. So it doesn't add much to what we've said before. It just highlights it through an analogy that is quite complicated. I think that probably, I don't want to criticize Shantideva, but the message could have been maybe simpler. Anyway, and even if such a king were to be displeased, he could not possibly grant me Buddhahood, which is what I would obtain by pleasing sentient beings, right? So the benefit that we find here is that through pleasing sentient beings, not only being patient with them, but pleasing them, I would attain my own state of Buddhahood. Let alone my future attainment of Buddhahood, which comes from pleasing sentient beings. Why do you not see that there will be great glory, fame, and happiness in this very life? So short-term benefits of patience, great glory, fame, and happiness in this life. Who doesn't want that? While in cyclic existence, patience causes beauty, freedom from sickness, and fame. Because of this, I shall live for a very long time and win the prosperous pleasures of a will-turning king. So there are quite a few benefits that Shantideva explains here. I put it in my tutorial notes, which is available to you. I'll send an update today as well, because we also will begin with the joyous effort section. So it says, the benefits of patience. The principal benefit is Buddhahood. Right? My state of Buddhahood is the principal benefit of patience. Why is it that it is a principal effect of patience? Because without patience, there is no Buddhahood. It's impossible to attain Buddhahood without patience. I mean, let alone Buddhahood. If you cannot be patient, you'll not be able to attain the state of liberation. Let alone the state of liberation. Without patience, you'll not even attain a precious human rebirth in your next lifetime, in a sense that the very foundation for a precious human rebirth, for a high status rebirth, is guarding pure ethical discipline, which abstains from the 10 non-virtues. Of the non-virtues of mind, we have ill will or malice. So if we become malicious, if we want to harm other sentient beings, if we get angry at others and so forth, can we have pure ethical discipline? It's pretty hard, isn't it? So that's the principal effect, Buddhahood. Then the visible effects are fame, glory, and happiness in this life. So think of people that are seemingly very patient. I mean, of course, His Holiness the Dalai Lama looks very patient. Lama Zopa Rinpoche seems to me to be very patient. So I've never seen Lama Zopa Rinpoche getting agitated or annoyed. It's actually quite interesting because it is said that when you follow a spiritual teacher, sometimes it's not good to be too close to the teacher because then faults start to appear. Like, for example, you might find situations in which the teacher seemingly appears to you to be short-tempered. I doubt whether it ever happens with Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I just doubt it. He scolds. But is it being impatient? I mean, I've seen His Honest scolding his staff. It's pretty scary. He can be quite fierce when he scolds his staff members. He knows exactly what he wants. But you wouldn't say that he's impatient. I wouldn't say that, at least. All right. So that's the visible effects in this life: fame, glory, happiness in this life. And the fully ripened effect is enjoying a handsome and attractive body. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to be attractive?
Well, if you want to attract people to you,
yeah,
you want to be attractive.
Actually, that's really interesting. I was many years ago when I came here to Chenrezig Institute, I had a conversation with Venerable Jamyang from the Netherlands. And she told me that when she first encountered Buddhism, she saw a photo of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and she thought to herself that that's the most beautiful person that she's ever seen. And I thought to myself, that's weird, kind of. I would not necessarily describe Lama Zopa Rinpoche as being a handsome person. But then it doesn't really refer to just being beautifully or physically beautiful. It's more like having that appearance where people gravitate towards you, being able to draw people in and people find you completely appealing. Sorry?
Attracting people to you.
Yeah, attracting people to you. So when the result of patience is said to be like beautiful or beautiful form, sometimes it is translated as a beautiful body. And it seems as if to me, it seems like sometimes that you can understand that as like being like, young and slim and six packs and having this like really nice appearance, but it's not about that, obviously. It's about having that sense of appeal where people naturally gravitate towards you. So
The Dalai Lama got in trouble.
Yes.
If there was the next Buddha, the next Dalai Lama could be female and she would be beautiful.
yeah.
I think he said attractive. She would have to be attractive, and that was interpreted as a sexist remark.
I mean, it's interesting when is so I'm just going to repeat it for the people at home. So His Honest made before jokingly a comment which landed him in hot water for saying that if the next Dalai Lama would be female, then it's good if she'd be attractive. That landed him in great water. He said that jokingly, but also, I mean, when you look at it from the perspective of being able to draw people to you, to teach them Dhamma, to draw people in. If you're a guy and you have a nice appearance, if you're a woman and you have a nice appearance, it gives you extra points. I mean, but yeah, if you are more attractive visibly, it might be that more people will gravitate towards you. So that's one way or one result of patience. So then it says not only that, but also the result of the fully ripened effect is not being afflicted by illness, having excellent renown, living a long and happy life, and enjoying the resources of a will-turning king. So will-turning king, have you heard that term before? It's also sometimes called a universal monarch, which is a very obscure term. Or in Sanskrit, it is called a chakravarti. It refers to someone that has those unlimited resources, or even if they're not unlimited, great resources, great enjoyment, but also to the point in which they can become so influential in turning the wheel of Dharma. That's a wheel-turning king. They enjoy those 7 signs of a royal emblem. So in short, someone that has a great power, great influence. These are the results of these are the results of the practice of patience. Now, Dechen from home, hi Dechen, says, would it be possible to look at question 8? Review questions. Not quite sure what the question is. I'm not quite sure what the answer is, but let's look at that. I'm just going to open the file. So question 8 says, verses 128 to 130 AB teach an analogy and its meaning, right? The king and the ministers, not harming the ministers because you fear the might of the king, or not harming sentient beings because you know that the ministers are powerful. There are different ways of interpreting these analogies. Shantideva says the reality is surpassing the analogy. Explain the way the reality of it surpasses the analogy. So let's look at, first of all, the outline. So explaining the benefits by means of an analogy, first of all, gives you an explanation of the analogy in terms of benefit. And then in the next 6 lines, it says, explaining the reality of it surpasses the analogy. Yeah, only, well, this point, which covers verse 128 and 130 AB, it gives you the analogy and the meaning, right? And after that, it says explaining the reality of it. So when you look at the analogy and the meaning of it, the reality is actually much greater than what this analogy means. The analogy just says that if you have people that are protected by the king, let's say, people that are protected by ministers or what have you, you don't retaliate in certain situations out of the fear that you will be punished for that. So if you fear being punished for that, you fear of that just in terms of this life. If you fear being punished by the king or ministers or what have you, the fear is limited to what's going to happen to you only on this life. Shantideva says that when you actually look at this analogy and the meaning, and then think of how would I explain that in reality, the meaning in reality is much greater. The reality is much greater than the analogy and the meaning, because by refraining from harming sentient beings, we're refraining from future harm that is not only limited to this life, but in future lifetimes as well.
Lama Zopa says that even an atomic bomb falls, it's nowhere near the reality.
Yeah. So you said that Lama Zopa says that even if an atomic bomb falls, it's not even close to that, to reality.
But it cannot send us to the lower realms.
Yeah, and a bomb can explode, but it cannot send you to the lower realms. Yeah, it's similar to say that, the worst thing that can happen to you by an enemy is that you're going to be killed by an enemy, but an enemy cannot send you to the lower realms. What can send you to the lower realms is your own anger. So how it surpasses reality? In that through anger, you also end up in miserable states of existence. All right. So these are the benefits. The last thing that I wanted to do is just read through Lama Tsongkhapa's recommendation of how to practice it. I'll put it on the screen. Just a sec. So in the Lamrim Chemo, it's found in page 179. On the screen, it reads like that. It's the summary. The recollection and cultivation of the mind of enlightenment. In the Lamrim Chemo, the translation, it is called the spirit of enlightenment. That's the translation of bodhicitta. So the recollection and cultivation of bodhicitta, the basis of the bodhisattva deeds, is the root of the wish to establish all sentient beings in a patience wherein they have extinguished the contaminations, right? So if you think of also how do you link up your practice of patience with bodhicitta, you also want to establish other living beings in the practice of patience, not only yourself, but you recognize how amazing patience is, and you think that I also need to establish others in that practice. After you steadily increase the mind of enlightenment, aspire to practice the patience of those at high level and then train your mind in it. Distinguish the trainings of the patience of a beginning bodhisattva and then learn this properly. If you transgress the boundaries as explained, you must make effort to amend it. So a couple of interesting points that Lama Tsongkhapa says here. He says, you need to develop the aspirations to become better and better at the practice of patience. You need to stop where you are. Here, Lama Tsongkhapa refers to beginner bodhisattvas. Are we beginner bodhisattvas, or we haven't even reached the level of a beginner bodhisattva? Anyway, let's assume that we are beginner bodhisattvas. We have meditated on bodhicitta. We've taken the bodhisattva vow. Let's assume that we are beginner bodhisattvas. It says, do what you can at the moment, but always aspire to be better at the practice of patience, which means that it requires a lot of self-reflection. What you're doing good at the moment, but what are your shortcomings? What is not sufficient? So says, aspire to practice the patience of those at high levels and then train your mind in it, in that aspiration. Distinguish the trainings for the patience of a beginning bodhisattva and then learn this properly. If you transgress the boundaries as explained, which means that if you become impatient, and you become impatient with those who give you what you do not want or they hinder what you want, you must make an effort to amend it. If you neglect these transgressions at the time of practicing these trainings, you'll be continually tainted by many great misdeeds. And even in future lifetimes, your practice of the marvelous deeds of the bodhisattvas will be extremely difficult. So you practice patience and you do your best. But if you neglect your practice of patience, in the sense that if you give way to anger and you neglect these transgressions at the times of practicing these trainings, this life, you will be continually tainted by many great misdeeds, which means that you will accumulate negativities. You'll be engaging many types of wrong actions. And even in future lifetimes, your practice of the marvelous deeds of the bodhisattvas will be extremely difficult. So it will also make it difficult for you to be good at the bodhisattva deed in the future. Seeing that the essentials of the path are supreme, practice right now what you can and inculcate the intention to practice even those you now cannot. If you do this, then as the question of the Subhara Sutra says, you will bring the perfection of patience to completion with little difficulty and minor suffering. How great it would be if it would be easy to practice patience, to bring it to completion. So here it says, that to bring it to completion easily and swiftly with minor suffering, you need to do what you can at the moment and always aspire to do best, to do better. Not be complacent with your practice of patience, but always think that you're going to do it better and better. So that's the end of the patience chapter, although it's probably just the beginning of our practice of patience. Or maybe not the beginning, but kind of we're still making our way. So let's begin with a chapter on joyous effort. But before we do that, let's just remind ourselves the structure of Shantideva's text. So remember that we spoke about the chapters of Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life in relation to the dedication verse for bodhicitta. May the precious body mind not yet born, arise and grow. These are the first 3 chapters. The benefits of bodhicitta, confessing negativities, and taking up the mind of enlightenment. Then the next line in the verse is, may that born have no decline. So in order to maintain bodhicitta and prevent it from declining, we spoke of the chapter of conscientiousness, alertness, and now patience. If we become impatient, the mind of enlightenment will decline. Then the chapters for increasing the mind of enlightenment may never decline but increase more and more. So to increase the mind of enlightenment more and more, we have joyous effort, the chapter on absorption or meditation, and then wisdom. So now we're beginning with the first chapter that teaches how to increase the mind of enlightenment, to make it stronger and stronger. Not only the mind of enlightenment, but also taking the Bodhisattva deeds to a higher and higher level. So that's the chapter on joyous effort. So normally when the practice of the 6 perfections is explained, we say that they follow a certain order. All the perfections, all the first 5 perfections were taught for the sake of generating wisdom. So wisdom will come at the end. We begin with generosity because if we rid ourselves of the obstacle, of the greatest obstacle to ethical discipline, which is attachment, it'd be easier for us to guard ethical discipline. So first of all, in order to reduce attachment, we have generosity. That's the first perfection. Second perfection that was taught was ethical discipline. What undermines ethical discipline is patience. So if you got ethical discipline, you're abstaining from harming, from harm and the basis of that harm. In order to be able to abstain from harm and the basis of that harm, you need also patience. In order to also make sure that the mind of enlightenment does not degenerate, you need patience. Then it says that joyous effort is found in all the other perfections. So you need joyous effort for generosity, for ethics, for patience, for absorption, and also for wisdom. So it is found in all other perfections, but still it was taught 4th in line because it is said that to develop joyous effort is slightly more difficult than practicing patience. Does it sound to you to be the case? Does it sound as if joyous effort is harder than practicing patience?
It seems the other way around.
It seems the other way around, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
The perfections are arranged according to the level of difficulty. So joyous effort is said to be more difficult than patience. So how do you explain that?
Even though it might not be more difficult, we still don't do it enough.
You said that even if it's not more difficult, we don't do it well enough, or we don't have enough joyous effort.
We don't have like a culture of joyous effort.
We don't have a culture of joyous effort.
Because of
anger.
version of writing. So it's more like you need a foundation of patients to develop the stability and strength to cultivate enduring, steady joy.
So you need, we have anger, we don't have endurance in practicing or bearing with all the hardships of the different practices that we need to do, so we don't have, did you say that we don't have the foundation for that? Is that what you said?
Patience is the foundation.
Okay, so patience is the foundation for joyous effort. Well, when you think of, in order to just kind of think about it, remember that the definition of joyous effort is to delight in virtue. It sounds quite simple, right? To delight in virtue. But then to delight in virtue, you can do it in a really simple way, kind of you become inspired about the virtuous action. But when you speak about, when you think about different types of virtues, as Geshe-la mentioned, there's small and simple virtues, there are those which are really great. You need to have the sense of delight, even in small, minute, positive actions. In order to do that, not only you need to have patience, but you also need to have a very good and stable trust in the working of karma. You need to be absolutely convinced that karma works. If you're absolutely convinced, if you absolutely trust the working of karma, you will trust that even a small, minute action is something that you need to be joyous about. Not just be casual about it, but you need to be enthused about it. And particularly when you encounter difficulties and hardships, you need not to be daunted. You need not to be discouraged. You still need to keep the momentum going. So for that, as Cherokee pointed out, you need patience. You need patience that willingly accepts suffering. You need patience that pays no heed to harm that is inflicted upon you. And you certainly need to have patience of being certain about the Dharma. All of those patience are combined into keeping that momentum in which you're totally undaunted, not discouraged, being completely enthused about any positive minute action. So that's why I think that joyous effort is placed after patience. But still, I think that in many occasions of our practice, we can be joyous about virtuous actions, even if we are not directly at the moment practicing patience, in the sense that, someone asked me to donate to a certain cause. I can give a coin of $2. I can give a note of $5. It doesn't require hardship. It's quite easy, actually. Right? So it's not like a really complicated task. I can do it, and I don't need to bear patience with the suffering or the difficulty in that practice, and I can do it with a sense of delight, with a sense of enthusiasm. So there are simple things that do not require patience, but in order to practice it in a full scale, in which you always strive to do better and better, you do not become complacent with your delight in virtue. You need to have quite a lot of prerequisites. Your trust in karma needs to be absolute. That's what I would think. And you need to be patient. And also you need to have solid ethics.
Are we talking about rejoicing in our own positive actions, those of others, or all of the above?
It's not only rejoicing, it's just being, when you rejoice in your own virtuous actions, or if you rejoice in the virtues of others, then you think of mostly of actions that were done before or actions that are being done at the present. But here, when we speak about joyous effort, is the engagement with virtues in a delightful manner. You're totally happy, you're totally inspired, you're totally enthused about doing that. So rejoicing is kind of thinking that that's good, that's excellent, but it seems that joyous effort has kind of a greater implication, in which it refers first of all to your own activities rather than being enthused about somebody else's activities. It's about your own virtue and being totally eager to do it. So there is some discussion here. Let's see if there's something that I need to answer. Pessimism, the perfection of pessimism. All right, being joyous while facing anger would be hard. Yeah. Patience is passive, effort is active. Perhaps. Yeah, sometimes you need to be very active in practicing patience. I mean, maybe there's an appearance of patience in being passive, in that you do not retaliate. You do not respond to a certain situation with anger, but it certainly doesn't make you passive or inactive, in a sense that you can respond to a situation in being very active, stopping injustice, stopping harmful action, but without being angry. So you're very active. You're not being very passive. You can actually oppose someone in a very fierce way. You can be adamant that this is not the right way to go. This is not the just thing to do, but without allowing your mind to become angry. I mean, how much more useful and beneficial it would be if we were to react to injustice without being angry, but with a mind that really knows what the best course of action is. When a mind becomes angry, it is likely that we're going to miss some of the points. We're not going to be able to hit the target exactly in a right way. I mean, I remember situations where I was involved in a certain conversation or in certain confrontation. I became angry to the point in which kind of I was shaking with anger, and then I wasn't able really to address the situation with kind of a mind that is so controlled by anger. If I take anger out of this equation and try to deal with the situation actively, I can do it much better. So then procrastination, laziness in regards to meaningless activity, and the laziness of inadequacy, we're going to speak about it soon. So so Kate says that she did qualify that with a perhaps, or sometimes. I was not. No, I hope that I didn't sound like I'm coming out on you. I think that it's good to kind of, in some sense, reaffirm to ourselves that when we're being patient, we're not being a doormat. Because I think that although we spoke about it quite a lot in the last few weeks, I think that we still need to think about it. I need to think about it again and again to make sure that I do not just avoid confrontation, that I can confront a certain thing, be active about it, and not allow others to take advantage of me or to...
Also with not being swayed from the purpose.
Sorry?
And not being swayed.
Not being swayed from the purpose. All right, joyous efforts. So I've put quite a few things in my tutorial notes. So first of all, the definition of joyous effort. So I took it from, so I looked at a few sources. So we have the text on minds and mental factors that gives an explanation of joyous effort from the point of view of Vasubandhu's companion of how's it go? The Abhidhamma Kosha. It also draws from other sources. Just a second. So the definition of joyous effort, it is a mind that is enthusiastic about virtue. It has the function of fulfilling and accomplishing the class of virtue. Now, from the Abhidhamma Kosha, and this is Vasubandhu's text, it is a mind that is enthusiastic with regards to armoring, application, non-inferiority, irreversibility, and insatiability or non-complacency. So, Vasubandhu in the Abhidhamma Kosha says, he mentions that it is enthusiastic. So it is enthusiastic about virtue. But in his description in the Abhidhamma Kosha, he also gives a description of joyous effort in terms of 5 classifications. So 5 different flavors, you could say, to joyous effort, 5 different qualities to joyous effort. So this is from the Abhidhamma Kosha. But if you remember, at the beginning of the 5th chapter in Shodhidevas Gata Bodhisattva Way of Life, we had a summary of Gyatso Dhamma Rinchen that gave a description of the 5 perfections, what the 5 perfections are, and also the classifications or the divisions of the 6 perfections. What the nature is of the 6 perfections and what are the different divisions of the 6 perfections. So it did say that to be, I think that it's in the tutorial notes. So it said that joyous effort is to delight in virtue. Let's try to. Find chapter. Sorry? Are we looking at chapter? We're looking at chapter 5, right? All right. Chapter 5. Joyous effort. So Gyatso Dhamma Rinchen says that it is a mind that strongly delights in gathering virtues, acting for the sake of sentient beings, and the movement of actions of the 3 doors that it motivates. The divisions is that there are three types of joyous effort: Ama-like joyous effort in gathering virtues, dhammas, and joyous effort in working for the sake of sentient beings. So we have 2 ways of classifying joyous efforts. One of them is as Vasubandhu explains it in his Abhidhamma Kosha. So he says that it is Ama-like joyous effort or Amaring joyous effort of application, joyous effort of irreversibility, undaunted joyous effort. Yeah, I'll look at it soon. And also joyous effort of something else. Let's look at the something else. Irreversibility and insatiability and non-complacency. So this is what Vasubandhu says. And then according to Lama Tsongkhapa speaks of, and also Gyatso Dhamma Rinchen, to speak of armoring joyous effort of gathering virtuous qualities, virtuous dhammas, and the effort of enacting the welfare of sentient beings. So why do we have 2 classifications of joyous effort? Well, it seems that, do you want to have a try? I mean, my guess to that is that the Abhidhamma Kosha, the Abhidhamma Kosha explains joyous effort in a general way. The Abhidhamma Kosha is considered to be a Hinayana treatise. It is a Hinayana text. So it doesn't explain joyous effort in a specific Mahayana way. So first of all, we have a general explanation of joyous effort. And then Lama Tsongkhapa takes that and he says that, and then there's the joyous effort in which that you need to have when you practice bodhicitta and the 6 perfections. So the basis of Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation is what Vasubandhu said before. So you have Ama-like, Amaring joyous effort, and all the other ones that are also included, but you also need to have joyous effort of practicing the 6 perfections, and that is the meaning of joyous effort, that gathers virtuous dhammas. Right? So to gather virtuous dhammas, it means that you do everything that you need to do in terms of the practice of the 6 perfections. And then joyous effort in working for the sake of others, which is the purpose of bodhicitta, compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth, to work for the sake of others. So, yes, Olaf said one meaning is from Hinayana and one is from the Mahayana. Yeah, so the Hinayana joyous effort is the very foundation, you can say, for a Mahayana joyous effort. So let's look at the qualities of joyous effort that not only are found in the Abhidhamma, but also Shantideva mentions in the first verse. Let's look at the first verse, chapter number 7. It says, with patience I should undertake joyous effort. Enlightenment dwells in those who strive. Just as there is no movement without wind, so merit does not occur without joyous effort. What is enthusiasm? It is enthusiasm about virtue. Then it says, its discordant class should be explained. They are laziness, adherence to what is negative, and despising oneself out of despondency. These are the two verses that we've covered. Now, in relation to verse 1, when we look at Getz-Dhamma Rinpoche's commentary, just a second. He says that there is Amma-like enthusiasm of application, enthusiasm of non-disheartedness and non-disturbance. It seems that here it combines two types of enthusiasm based on what Vasubandhu said, and then enthusiasm of non-satisfaction, in a sense that you do not become complacent with a simple thing that you have done now, and you think that that's enough. I've done an excellent thing, I've done great, but you always have this insatiable appetite to doing better, greater, and so forth. So let's begin with the meaning of Amma-like joyous effort. Remember that Geshe said that with respect to Amma-like joyous effort is that you become enthused about virtue. You recognize what virtue is, and you think that's excellent, but there's always a danger that our afflictive states of mind will come in between. So we need to wear an armor that protects us. So that's a general way of looking at armoring joyous effort. Lama Tsongkhapa in the Lamrim Chenmo gives a more detailed explanation of Amma-like joyous effort, and it seems that what he's getting at is that you should be so dead set in being virtuous that no hardship, no discouragement whatsoever can penetrate your enthusiasm. Right? You do not give way to any type of difficulty. And in order to do that, it says that you need to, before engaging with certain activities with joyous effort, you need to have that preliminary state of mind in which you're completely enthused. So it is, you can say that this armoring joyous effort is required at the onset of your engagement in virtue. Right from the beginning, you should set yourself up for success, right? For success in the sense that you think that this is the task that I have at hand. I'm dead set on doing that. Nothing will dissuade me from doing that. We're almost out of time, so I just wanted to read, if you will. Yeah.
Put your invisible armor on.
Yeah. Yeah. Put your armor on your robes, under your robes. When you wear, well, if it's not going to make you sweat more in the summer, I can wear this.
Yeah. It can be ice cold.
It can be ice cold, all right. All right, Amma-like joyous effort. Let's read through that quickly. When bodhisattvas joyously persevere prior to actively engaging themselves, they put on the armor of preliminary enthusiastic thought, such as for 1 trillion sets of 3 immeasurably great eons, each compound of days as long as 1,000 great eons, I shall not relinquish my practice of joyous perseverance, right? So think about becoming dead set about doing it. Not running, even if it takes such a long time, eons over eons over eons, you're not going to relinquish it. You're not going to relinquish your enthusiasm about doing it. So that's what needs to precede our engagement with virtue. So often what we do is that we engage with virtuous activities, but without having that great joyous effort to begin with. Now we take some of our virtuous actions quite lightly. We jump head on, and after some time we encounter some difficulties, or we become bored with it, we become unenthused about it, we're no longer inspired. There's something else that is getting our attention. We forget about what we've been doing up until now, and then we go and do something else. So this Ama-like joyous effort is the one in which you need to be dead set that you're going to do it. Nothing is going to take your attention from it. You're going to bring it to completion.
I was just going to say that phrase, which is the opposite to this, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So this is opposite.
When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Yeah. So just finish reading through this. So it says, for the sake of relieving the sufferings of a single sentient being, I would rejoice at remaining only as a helping until I attain Buddhahood. As I exert myself in this manner for the sake of complete enlightenment, what need is there to mention my perseverance over a shorter period in the face of lesser suffering? Such is the joyous perseverance that is like armor. A bodhisattva who produces even an aspiration for or just faith in such joyous perseverance is steadfast. How much more so one is endowed with this perseverance, given that he or she develops measureless causes for joyously perseverance for the sake of unsurpassed enlightenment. The Bodhisattva level says that, and that's a Sangha's text, right? So it's a Mahayana text. It says that for such a person, there is absolutely no action for the sake of others and for enlightenment that is discouraging or entails hardships, right? So right from the beginning, you set yourself up with such great determination that you find nothing discouraging or nothing that entails hardship. When you become conditioned to such a state of mind, it becomes the definite cause of awakening your potential for the Mahayana lineage, so train in it. So to awaken your Buddha potential, you have to have joyous effort. So that's the first step of joyous effort, that armoring joyous effort that the text mentioned. We will leave it here for now and look at the rest tomorrow. Become dead set that you're going to study this tomorrow as well. Dedication. Due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. May the precious Supreme Bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. In this land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful transcendence in Gatso, please remain until samsara ends. You uphold the subduous moral way, yourselves are the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading my Junath victorious doctrine. The Master fully accomplishes magnificent praise, honoring the three jewels. Protector of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. Thank you very much, people.
Thank you very much.
And also Yeshe. Yeah, people in Yeshe.
That's